Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I'm your host, Ali Melnicki, accompanied by my favorite coworker, Robert Kowalski. Are those numbers still spinning in your head, Robert?
Every day, Allie, every day.
That's the life of a bookmaker for you folks. Just constant numbers and line changes. And I always said, because people say you age 10 years when you work on Wall Street. Well, I think you age even more working as a bookmaker, because that is a 24/7 job.
It is. There is no shutdown. Exactly. Unlike the stock market, that there's a bell that's rung when it's starting. There is no bell. It's just it's always there. You're absolutely right. And just because even actually, if you want to go even a little bit more micro, like if you wanted to go and take a look and say, hey, wait a second, well, this baseball game just started. Am I shut out? Well, of course not. You just bet live. So there is no beginning, there is no end. It's, of course, it's over when the game is done, but you could pretty much hop into any event that you wanted to at any time now.
And it's all international too. So you have soccer games going on at 2 a.m. our time. So it literally, it's a life that I don't envy. I like betting, but I don't envy being a bookmaker. So props to you, Robert, pun
Thanks, Ellie.
intended, about making all those for us.
Nice.
Anyway, we have a bit. I know it's kind of the slow season when it comes to betting. We really, MLB is only the four major sports playing. We do have soccer, we have tennis, we have golf, and weekly MMAs. But let's be honest, Robert, people love betting football, college football, NFL, and I guess you could throw NBA into there too. So we're not at that time yet, but there is a big game coming up in the MLB next week, and that's the MLB All-Star Game. And what I correlate the All-Star Game to is definitely not nearly as interesting or as mass populated watched as the Super Bowl. But when it comes to props, it's pretty much the second biggest prop palooza game of the year. Can you agree with that?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's the one event that I know I can go and put a number on anyone and everyone that's going to be named to the game. You're absolutely right. Whether we're going to put up a prop on whether a hitter's going to hit a home run during their appearance at the All-Star game in Seattle, or how many hits or total bases rather a player will have. That's something that we could also put up. And then of course on the pitching side, it's strikeouts, it's putouts. There's so many ways that you could bet this one All-Star game. It's gone far beyond just side total and money line, alley.
It's crazy. And as a kid, baseball was always my first love. In the last, I'd say, probably in the last 10 years, I'd say, football has become my number one sport. It used to be number two. And then I would put college basketball now as my number two. I don't know why MLB has just kind of dropped off for me. I'm a Red Sox fan. I still watch the Sox when they play, if they're on national TV. I'm not like looking to watch the Sunday night game like I used to when I was younger. I think just because with all the rule changes in recent years, it's just been just totally bumbled all over the place. But I remember as a kid watching the All-Star Game, Robert, and that was something that everyone used to just sit down into between the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. And I used to work at Fox Sports, and we constantly saw every year ratings for the All-Star Game dip and dip and dip. What would be your theory to why that is before we get into the betting?
I don't think it's a baseball cited problem, Allie. I think it's just society in general.
True.
Social media has kind of ruined any kind of attention span that we have, and where we used to be able to sit down and enjoy a 2.5 hour, maybe 2 hour 45-minute baseball game. Don't really have much time for that anymore. I think it's a little bit more speed is what was necessary. And I thought maybe Allie with the rule changes and now with the game average runtime, pretty significantly cut down. I thought that maybe that heck, I'm even starting to watch some baseball games, and it's just not in their completion. I mean, I've got too many events to keep
Right.
track of, but it's if there's a game on and it's worth having a look at, whether it's because we have a decision on it, or I just want to see a particular hitter or a pitcher matchup. I thought that the pitch clock was the one addition that has helped me watch games a little bit more, because I want to see things happen a little bit faster, and I think that that's kind of what happened. Whether or not that's turning everyone back to watching baseball, I don't know. I almost wonder if baseball's become more of a regional sport.
Yes.
And then that's just simply the way it's going to be, and there's not going to be much of a change there. So yeah, I tend to I'll lean towards liking the rule changes. And I'll just take a look and see how the rest of the season plays itself now.
So I was skeptical about the pitch clock. I'm a traditionalist when it does come to baseball. I don't like messing with the rules. I will say I don't like the shift rule. I think that that's something as a hitter you need to figure out. Like it shouldn't, there shouldn't be that you can't shift to one side to take advantage of someone that's a heavy hitter to the left side or right side, whatever it is. I don't like that. I think that rule should be eliminated. I think that's something that the hitter needs to. I remember watching David Ortiz would just bunt down the third base sideline and get a single on a bunt just to get rid, to beat the shift. I think you need to get creative like that. So I don't like the shift change. I do like the pitch clock. I do think that in the few games I have watched this year, that it has made the game go on quicker. But in the end, Robert, I've been saying this for years, shorten the season. What are you doing playing the World Series all the way in November? I mean, by September, I want my football on all day, every day. I'm watching football on Thursday night. I'm watching on Monday night. I'm watching it all day Sunday, and I'm watching college on Saturday. There's no room for baseball. I always said that the MLB is really missing a market, not having playoffs start somewhere in mid-August when it's only NFL preseason. People aren't as in tune to that. Because it used to be you lose them by October. Now you lose them well before October because, Robert, we don't get a World Series champion until November. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think it's definitely too long. And I wish there was a better answer, Ali, as to how we can shorten the season. But we all know money talks, and it's not going to end up in any way shortening. I also wonder if maybe you just have two different seasons. I don't know. I'm just, thinking off the top of my head. I don't know if it's I think it may have even been mentioned before, where you have like a spring season and a summer season. But I honestly think that if there's a way to shorten the season, maybe you find a way that you could end up having a schedule that's not only concludes, like the regular season concludes, let's say in mid-August. There's enough money to go around. I mean, you don't need the gate receipts per se. I actually think that the vast majority of the money still comes from television. And so if that's where they're concerned about, their getting their TV dollars, well, maybe Major League Baseball could just take control of it, all over again, and just figure out a way to, make sure that the revenue gets shared, appropriately among all the major league franchises.
But I even know from when I worked at Fox Sports, like in like the divisional round and everything, especially the wild card game, we're showing those playoff games on like FS1, which is the lesser station to the big Fox station. Same thing, you're seeing stuff on TBS, TNT. Those aren't like big cable channels that people know. It's not Fox, it's not ABC, it's not CBS. ESPN, I guess you could just throw in there because it's the number one sports network. But like some are on MLB Network too, and not everyone gets the MLB Network. So I feel like you're actually doing yourself a disservice because I can tell you that some of those big networks mid-August, they're clamoring to put a big sport on like MLB playoffs instead of, I don't know, track and field qualifications, ice skating. So I really think that there just hasn't been enough exploration. I'm sure there's going to be pushback on the players' end too. We saw it during the shortened COVID season, which I think also contributes to everyone kind of got a bitter taste in their mouth when the players just wouldn't play because they wanted their full contracts, not prorated. So I know that players aren't going to want to take a pay cut if they have to play 20 less games. But I mean, if you're in a ratings decline, unless you do something significant like that, it's just going to keep going and going. I think that MLB is going to become consumed. I think MLS is going to overtake them soon. I mean, you have big names coming to MLS. You have Messi. You already had some big names before that. I think that MLB is in big trouble if they don't do something soon. But I don't want to get too much into it because this is a sports betting show, and I don't want to just rant about how I don't like how MLB is doing their stuff. But let's get back into the All-Star Game and the props, Robert. So I think the big news leading into the All-Star game, we might not have the best player in baseball in the actual game. Is that correct?
Yeah, Otani is speaking of a plan as to how to play. I'm not quite sure what that exactly means. He still does have a few days before he's got to, officially get scratched, I guess. Uh, I mean, he really is the best player.
Oh,
We could debate whether or not he might be the best baseball player ever. But I really do think that that he's well, I mean, look, he's not going to be pitching, right? We know
right.
that. So now we wonder, is he going to be able to come in and, get some kind of, at bat? Uh, it would be nice. I just don't know that if a blister is going to be something that's going to just say, you know what, might just be worth resting for the entire break and then just come right back, a house of fire for the second half for the Angels.
I mean, why do these best players get lost in Anaheim? Like Otani, Trout, like they're just buried there. It's just not winning or anything. It's really a shame. But let's look at some of these props and I want you to highlight some of them. We don't know the starting lineups yet, correct?
Right.
So when you're handicapping now, what are you looking at in terms of props? Because let's give the audience an insight to how a sports an odds maker makes these. Are you waiting till the starting lineups come out? Because obviously the starters they play about 2 or 3 innings each, and then the reserves usually get an inning each. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And even that, I mean, I'm pretty certain that if you get named to the All-Star game and you're there in Seattle, you're going to make an appearance one way or another. So count on that, and knowing that, you have to take a look. I mean, if you haven't heard about it, you probably could see it if you're into baseball. If you go to baseballreference.com, I use it very, very often.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, it's really, I mean, it's the Braves and the Dodgers against the AL, and I don't know if it's going to make much of a difference because of how loaded those two teams are. They're going to have so many players that'll be appearing in it. But that being said, Ali, I mean, look at this insane track record. The AL just keeps winning time
Yep.
and time and time again. It's been like what, a decade now?
Pretty much. It usually goes under if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Yeah, a lot of them have gotten under, and especially in the last few. So, 2018 jumps out. It was an 8-6 final, but yeah, 7 runs, three, 6 runs, 9 runs. A lot of them have gone under. So if there's going to be an All-Star game really early line right now, I probably make the AL as a very small favorite, maybe like $1.20,
Uh-huh.
with a total somewhere around 8.5.
I was gonna say 8.5 seems about right. I
Yeah.
think that I would still go under. I think that when you have the best pitchers, especially with all the rules nowadays and whatnot, no shift and everything, I
Right.
think it has cut down on the amount of, offense that you're seeing on a day-to-day basis. So I would still lean under. But let's look at some of these pitchers, Robert, that have been selected to the AL and NL respectively.
Yeah.
Who is your pick to start?
So I probably would want to see, actually, if you can think about how we're looking at the pitching leaders. I For me personally, I just love seeing just a fastball just come zooming in as the more 100-mile-an-hour guns that we see, the better for me.
Yeah.
Uh, how about if we see maybe obviously it's not going to be Otani. How about Elder on the NL?
I was thinking Elder. I mean, he's a Brave. Braves were the World Series winner 2 seasons ago. I think Elder's a good start, especially if you have a team that's dominated by pretty much just Dodgers and Braves. You might as well get some of them out of the way. But I mean, are people going to want to clamor for Kershaw just because it's traditional? How many All-Star games has he started? Spencer Strider. I mean, that's another Brave, but I mean, that guy's just a strikeout fiend. So I think Elder, Strider, those are two of the ones that come to mind. for the NL, at least for me. Anyone else you throw in the basket?
Let's see. How about over the AL side? And how
Yeah,
about
I feel
some
like it's a little. I mean, do you go with Valdez with Houston?
Valdez or maybe I mean, what Garrett Cole?
Ooh, I mean, you're talking to a Red Sox fan, but
I
no,
mean,
Cole's
he
good.
is
I would.
he is like what, top five? Yeah, he's top five in strikeouts. He's certainly has, I want to call it like a fantastic. I mean, he is 8-2, ERA under 3.
Yeah,
I would either start him or you see Shane McClanahan perhaps.
McClanahan's. You got. I think you got to put a Rays guy there. I think if I'm the Astro, what if I'm what is it, Dusty Baker, the Astros manager? I
Right.
think of that. I would start McClanahan because that is the best team in baseball right now. You should be representing the best team in baseball by throwing out the first pitch for your league. I would put McClanahan there. I would
Okay.
start.
All right. Good there. Good there. Back to the NL. I know you looking at Strider. Uh Man.
Yeah, I would put Strider. I mean, he's tied for second in the league with 10 wins. He has the most strikeouts in the league with 155. I'd probably put Strider there.
It's either that or Zach Gallen. Could we possibly see a Diamondback as the starter? I don't think so, but
I mean, he's
he's
deserving,
he's
but
got he
no.
does have 10 wins and he's, top 5 in strikeouts as well. Uh Either way, however it's going to come out, they're all obviously going to be making appearances. All the pitchers that we just mentioned are going to be making appearances. But I honestly think we're just going to see an awful lot of strikeouts and an awful lot of home runs is what I'm probably thinking.
So let me ask you, let's talk home run props real quick because these are pretty popular props, and obviously it's a All-Star game. People want to see everyone go yard. They don't want small ball, money ball, whatever you want to call it. Who is your favorite on the AL and the NL to go deep? Like, who's going to have the best odds that they're most likely to go deep? And then throw in a sleeper after that.
Okay, so is insane. I mean, look, he's obviously going to be probably the favorite to win the home run derby. Uh, I'll either go Pete Alonso or Matt Olson on the NL
Mm-hmm.
with, how about Garcia on the AL? I'm going to go with Devers as well. So there
Okay.
you go. A little Boston love for
Throw,
you.
throw some Rappy in there. I like that. I like that.
And then
What about the whole? Well, it's going to be in Seattle. What about any of the hometown team going to be there to hit
goodness, that's
something?
right. Yes. How about man, who's the kid that's
Julio Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez?
I think that would be my sleeper. I mean, we all remember him in the home run derby last year.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, I would like, I mean, of course, and then Teoscar Hernandez is going to probably,
Yeah.
might make an appearance. He does. I know he's up there in home runs as well. Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Ooh, I like him. Yeah.
I'm just looking
I
for
think
some
so.
prices. Yeah.
I think Schwarber is a nice pick if he doesn't strike out all of his times.
This is so funny. It's like I'm actually like looking at this like from a horse racing perspective. I just don't want to pick a favorite right now.
How about
That's
like
why I'm just looking for them.
the lone guy that's going to represent the Pirates, Sawinski?
Oh, he's absolutely, yeah. Guys, we've been putting him in for Willie, a yes no home run pretty much every day. He's got 19 already.
Yeah.
Uh, I never fault anyone for taking a price on him. Definitely.
So talk to me about home run handicapping because obviously on a day-to-day basis, it's more likely someone won't hit a home run than they will unless you're Shohei Ohtani. What goes into your mind when you're handicapping home runs?
Definitely. So I want to see kind of like a log. I want to go back to the last 10 games that the ball player has had. Is he cold? Is he hot? Is he at a rate where you think there was one point where I think it was Muncy that hadn't hit a home run for like 14 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point you're like, okay, this guy can hit. We know at some point he's gonna hit. And so I feel like the longer that a established home run hitter goes without hitting one, the shorter the number gets for me. I know it should be the other way around. It's like, okay, he's not going to hit one here. Another one, like I guess Mookie Betts was another one that was just, went cold for a bit. But I think that when you set up a proposition on whether or not a player is going to hit a home run, I want to take a look at the main things. One, what pitcher is he facing? Two, home or away.
Got it.
Right. And then three, what's the weather that morning?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. All three of those go into it. I kind of want to see what's their form. I guess to, go back to the daily racing form. I want to see what form they're currently in, who they're pitching, who's the pitcher that they're going to be facing that day, and then whether it's home or away, Allie.
I would imagine too the ballpark comes into effect. Like if you're hitting it in Coors Field, that's going to definitely boost your odds, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what about when it comes to someone like that hits a home run the night before? Are you going to then make it harder for the person to hit the next day? Because obviously hitting back-to-back days is extremely tough, correct?
It is extremely tough. That's correct. You would think that they would not. However, things happen for a reason. And what I like to look at again is, if it's part of a home stand or if it's part of a trip that they're in, and I like the ballpark that they're playing and it's a little bit more batter friendly. And then the pitcher is maybe not a, top 2 rotation pitcher. Maybe I don't tinker with the number. Maybe I stay and say, there is at least, I don't know, 20% chance. And then you kind of just calculate it out there for a yes/no perspective, which obviously is something that we offer at Zen Sports. So, I'm never going to go offer a prop where it's just one-sided. I want to always offer the counter, to any kind of a proposition so you could bet on or against it.
What about, let's move on a little bit, but let's go back to the All-Star Game. So one of the interesting bets I used to see is who is going to get the save in the game. Do you still make odds for those?
That is absolutely something that could be done. Yes. So really, you got to figure out it, and it's going to be the last pitcher that's going to be throwing in the game. So you're really handicapping who's obviously, one, not going to be the starter. Two, you're looking for who's winning, right? So actually, if you're looking to correlate it, what a great way to set up a parlay where you pick the side with a pitcher to pick up that save. It's already difficult enough just to figure out who's going to get the save on the roster of the winning team. But if you could figure out who's going to win, plus who's one of the last pitchers to throw, got yourself a little a little accumulator there, Allie.
I know that's always been an interesting one for me because you usually whoever's probably leading their respective league is going to be the one to do that. So I would imagine it's you have to pretty much do a coin flip. Who would be your guess this year that if for the AL and the NL, if the AL's winning or if the NL's winning, who would get the save on your end?
So yeah, let's go with, first off, if I went back to my original thought of making the AL the favorite, probably let's take a look at, well, not the starters. Obviously, we're looking at that already got the rosters, actually. So the rosters are just released from Major League Baseball. So if we looked at the rotation in the AL, how about okay, I'll go with either Nate Eovaldi from Texas or Kevin Gausman from Toronto.
Really? To get a save?
To pick up a save.
So it would be a starter.
Yes.
So what are the odds on that? Like, what's the over 0.5 saves for Eovaldi?
I would probably think you're looking anywhere in the vicinity of 8 to 12 to 1.
Wow.
That he picks that up. So if I had to go in the NL, I'll go with either Marcus Stroman. I know, strange.
I mean, these are odd. I would think it would be an actual relief person, but
Or give me Hader, Josh Hader from San
yeah,
Diego.
yeah, do the hater. That's a good one.
How about
What
yours?
about what's like the most interesting prop from your perspective that you can find for the All-Star game?
The All-Star game is going to obviously look at, or the first thing everyone's going to want to do is uh, look for home runs, right? So we can not only offer something where, total number of home runs hit in the game, but if you want to go, even deeper and actually saying who will be the first player to hit a home run, you could even get better odds there. That's when I definitely would love to post up. Not only, how many home runs hit in the game, total bases, total stolen bases, but the first person to hit a home run, AL or NL, doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's a good one. Because I will say, like, I know I usually don't like those shot in the dark props. I come to think, like, in NFL, you always pick the first touchdown scorer. I think that's just so hard. I'd rather
It
do
is.
anytime touchdown scorer than first. But I think for the All-Star game, there's not going to be a lot of home runs. It's different than football where you only have the scores between touchdowns and field goals. Whereas in MLB, you could score a stolen base when you're still home. You could score on a single, a double, triple, home run. I would definitely I would take a chance at that. I would probably put money on Pete Alonso to hit the first home run. What odds would that give me?
I would say, looking at the rotation and where he is in the lineup, are between maybe 9 to 11 to 1, Allie.
Okay.
Yeah, can't ever fault you for that. That's a nice number.
No, that's a good interesting one. What about would there be a prop for who strikes out first? Not what pitcher throws the first strikeout, because obviously would be most likely the starters, but for what batter will strike out first?
No, absolutely. Yeah, that's even better because now you could actually say, well, can I just go and just load up on, who I think is going to be, lining up in the batting order, right? And so we could take a look at, in the NL, for example, it's going to be, don't think that we'll probably see, maybe
Well, give me Kyle Schwarber for that one.
I was gonna him. I was actually thinking, could it possibly
I
be?
would actually go both ways. I do Kyle Schwarber anytime home run plus the first to strike out, because he's probably going to get two at bats and
That's
he's probably going
brilliant.
to do both.
That is really good. You could actually get both. For me, I would probably think that it would either be maybe Acuna or Betts
Yeah, bets
that
for
would be leading off. And I'll just probably look for a price and maybe bet both of them and just split it down the middle.
yeah, cool. Yeah, no, those are good ones. Well, before we head out, Robert, because I know we're running out of time and everything, give us the most interesting bet you've ever seen anyone place on an All-Star game.
On an all-star game, someone wanted to bet uh the alternate run line and then add a kicker to it. So, for example, if we were looking at this year's All-Star game and just off of my theoretical, right? So if we have the AL as $1.20 favorite, right? So they would obviously be -1.5 and like maybe make the NL anywhere between like -180, AL +155. He wanted to lay -2.5 runs.
Mm.
And to what point, could he get, how many action points could he get on that? So you just, have a look at it and you figure, well, I mean, if he's laying 2.5 runs, you go back and say, well, it's obviously something I should have probably put up because it's going to probably be bet even more. And then you have to take a look at the other side of it is, who's going to lay a heavy number to take 2.5 runs. So the alternate run lines is something that became a part of the menu for all the All-Star games. P.S. He got like, I think it was +250 for every dollar that he bet. There was a lot of zeros to that wager, and he won that one.
I
That's
do
when
like.
we woke up to alternate run lines. That was some time ago.
So I like it, but so, I will be honest. The few times I do bet MLB, not just the All-Star game, but when I'm bored and I just feel like putting money on a game, I'm one that I actually prefer the run line over the money line. And you know me in football, Robert. I love points. I'm a spread person. But when it comes to baseball, I just feel like in so many games, I don't get the value unless I want the underdog. If I see a good value with an underdog, I will take the underdog money line. But most of the time, I like the favorite, and I like the favorite if they're away, and I will the favorite when they're if they're away, and I will lay points with them. I will take the minus 1.5 run line. What do you see mostly in because I know in football, you get both spread bets and you get money line bets pretty popularly. But is there a big discrepancy with people taking the money line versus the run line in baseball?
Ali, you just unearthed a nice little gem. You're absolutely right. So let's just say, like Atlanta, right? Atlanta scoring in bunches every single time. And then when they win, they typically win by two or more. Why lay a big number? Especially now they're on the road, right? So if they're on the road, you don't have to worry about them being at home and only winning. Yeah, okay, we only have to win by one, and you don't really have a chance to win by two if it's late. If they're on the road, they're obviously going to be a shorter price. And if you're laying 1.5, you're going to get a nice little chunk. Well, if they're already going to win, they're typically going to win by two or more. So yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and, add an additional 75, 85 cents to your winnings there. Absolutely. That's the way
Yeah.
to do it.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Like that's the one time I will like because I like value. I'm not one that like I like minus 120, minus 135. I don't like not getting value. I'm all about the plus money. So if I get value with laying a run and a half with like a good team, like if the Braves are playing, someone like the Cardinals who's in last place in their division, I would totally home or away lay 1.5 with the Braves. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing. No need to really, look at the game and have to analyze it any deeper than that. You're obviously going to see a team that's vastly superior. I mean, we're already in July, right? So we know who's good and who's not, who should be, relegated to AAA. So these are the teams that you can easily and comfortably say, I could see them winning, and then if they're going to win, they'll win by two. So, don't lay the big number, lay the 1.5. As long as you could see the matchup, playing out correctly and end up winning a lot more, for your stake than, if you had to lay, let's say, a 190 or a 200.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yes.
Well, that is all the time we have for today. I know Robert and I could keep talking and talking, but we're gonna save your ears. But I know we were about to sign off, Robert, and then we went off on another tangent. But before we sign off, any other advice or anything to give the audience when it comes to betting the All-Star game?
I would look at the lineup once it's put out first. Don't make any wagers until you see the actual batting order on both sides. And then that's how you can start to pick apart all of your propositions.
I guess I know I said we are over, but one more question I have. What if you bet a pitcher? Say you bet so and so to have under 0.5 strikeouts.
Yes.
And even though the pitcher's on the roster for the All-Star game but never gets in the game, is that bet still live or is that negated?
It's a great question, Allie. That's a refund. Most places, it should be a refund. I know it's going to be here with us at Zen Sports.
Yeah, and then the same thing batting, right? If say you bet, I don't know, Acuna, even though he's going to play, under 0.5 hits,
Right.
and he get an at bat, then that doesn't qualify, correct?
Same way. Yeah, you need to have one plate appearance or throw one pitch to have action.
Which, to just so our listeners are aware, because I know some people might get confused, but a walk still counts as a plate appearance, correct?
Exactly.
All right, so just everyone, don't forget that. But I thank everyone for joining. I hope everyone enjoys the home run derby and the All-Star game. I definitely will watch a few innings on Tuesday. Hopefully, it will be exciting and fun. It is nice to see the stars compete against each other and everyone gather together on the field. I've never been to Mariners ballpark, but I had a friend that went last summer that said it's beautiful up there. So I'm looking forward to see the game. Yep, played there. All right, everyone. Robert and I will be back next week. We'll probably be talking football since next week, literally, there is no sports going on unless you're watching the MLB All-Star Game. So we will talk to you then. All right, bye-bye.